Few things in life will prepare you for the sound that aberrations make. Not all of them, sure, but most of them sound absolutely vile, almost as disgusting as many of them look. And believe me, no artist can really do justice to the roiling, terrible, horrific, loathsome, evil, and yet maddeningly pitiable appearance of such things as should never have found themselves in our dimensions in the first place. Where you will find either a currently occurring or a devastating legacy of a far realm incursion in the D&D multiverse, you tend to find Gibberlings. They're almost like the first swallows of spring, or the first bloated blowflies of summer on the desperate hunt for food and fornication in the very worst places. That is Gibberlings for you. On the cosmic scale of things, they're no better than vermin, and what is worse is that there are just enough similarities between us and the Gibberlings to give a very disturbing insight that as low, bestial, and savage as humanoids can be, there's always room for them to be worse. The Gibberlings are the worst. The Gibberlings have been in the game since very early on. I know they appear in the first edition Fiend Folio, which means they may have first appeared in the UK's White Dwarf magazine, but researching who invented them is a bit tricky as the author used a pseudonym, Underworld Oracle. I found one sage who states that this was the writing duo of Lou Nisbet and Phil Alexander. Since then, the Gibberlings have appeared in almost every edition of D&D, and with good reason. They are horrible, weird, and wretched beings that pose a sudden and terrible threat to any and other creatures nearby. I see Gibberlings as creatures which have devolved to the point that all that matters to them, above all else, is to survive, and that means kill, eat, and breed, to the exclusion of all other things. I also don't think that Gibberlings are all one species. Far from it. I think this is just the end form of many common humanoids of the Underdark and similar places on other worlds, where they've simply been too mutated and corrupted by foul alien energies to be anything else but a Gibberling. They could even be the result of a gibbering mouther that was somehow cured of its condition, split back into its many different bodies, but with a mind still shattered and insane from the ordeal, never to fully recover and still a terrible danger to other living beings. Still, Gibberlings all look the same, but each is horrible in their own special little way. Serious mutations, not obvious at first. I mean, Gibberlings travel in large mobs constantly, so picking out individuals is never easy. Grabbing a dead one to examine is also a bad idea, and I'll get to why in a moment. First, let's go over some of their common traits. They're small, hunched-backed humanoids that look like a troll, werewolf, and a diseased goblin somehow mated and produced offspring. They are pale, where bare skin is not covered in a cake of filth. Their large pointed ears and a face that looks disturbingly humanoid, but with a bestial jaw similar to that of a Tasmanian devil, with far too many teeth. They have black gleaming eyes that reflect torchlight in the darkness, and they seem to grin all the time, thanks to their fangs simply being too large for their jaws to close properly. So they tend to slaver, drool, and have breath like a sewer breeze. They are very muscular, and their metabolism is such that they constantly move, twitching, shaking, twisting, and snarling and slashing with their overly long arms and claws, or the crude weapons they often carry, either of shaped and sharpened bone or basic metal short swords that seem to be the only worked metal tools they will ever use or show any interest in, other than to use the object to beat another creature to death with as a blunt improvised weapon. The short swords are ideal for how they tend to attack though, where they get such things, nobody knows. Gibberlings tend to look furred, but really they have the same sort of body hair distribution roughly as a human. They have long black hair on their head, neck, shoulders, and partway down their spine. They have thick hair at the groin and more sparse hair on their legs and arms. They never wear clothing or armor of any kind that I've seen, nor do they mark themselves with pigments. They don't wear ornaments or carry any kind of treasure. They don't have a culture. They don't have a recognizable language other than that noise you heard. Some sages speculate they may also function like some sort of echolocation. I doubt this. Gibberlings are always badly infested with all sorts of parasites, lice and fleas being the most dangerous. They also tend to spread fungal infections from their slashing claws, and a bite has a good chance of passing on a nasty dose of filth fever. They are very nocturnal creatures. They have almost no protection from the sun, so exposure to it will cause their skin to blister and invariably get oozing, very painful looking infections. Gibberlings are, as you can imagine, never comfortable, always hungry and always hunting. They never rest. They either sleep or they're on the go at full speed, howling and screaming, only pausing long enough to kill and eat or to smash objects in their way, or things they don't understand that seem out of place, which is basically anything that is not part of a cave or a big tree. But they will attack, tear down, and try to eat a tree if they don't have anything else around to kill and consume. The major weakness of the Gibberlings is their fear and revulsion of light. Natural bright sunlight is the only thing they seem to fear, along with fire, so one can keep them at bay by surrounding oneself with open flames, and escaping into the daylight is really your best bet, because all Gibberlings will chase you and fight you until either they kill and eat you or die themselves. It is completely impossible to control these things via any method other than magic, and they fear nothing other than light and fire, so cannot be intimidated. Thankfully, they also have no concept of combat tactics. They only have one, which is overwhelm with superior numbers and then tear their victim to pieces. Not waiting for the victim to be dead as they start to feed is another hallmark of these creatures. They also eat any of their own which is either dead or can no longer fend for itself. The exception to this is the brood Gibberlings. Their only form of procreation, as far as anyone has been able to tell, is with these mutant variants, and they are so revolting. Okay, brace yourself. This is how the Gibberlings increase their horde's number all the time. Brood Gibberlings are not always present in a horde. If that is the case, the horde is doomed to eventually get killed off or to consume itself. Also, brood Gibberlings can't survive without fairly constant exposure to the corrupting energies of the far realm. This is what allows them to survive the breeding process. Otherwise, it's as deadly to them as it is to the creature they breed with. Also, it tends to give them even more extreme and random mutations compared to other Gibberlings, and they are a little bit larger sometimes, but not overly much. Perhaps they just tend not to hunch over as much because of their condition. See, Gibberlings don't appear to have any reproductive organs at all. None of them do, and yet a brood Gibberling is infested with offspring. The mysteries of Gibberling reproduction were revealed in the module The Gates of Firestorm Peak, a great adventure with a lot of the Far Realm concepts began to take shape. In the adventure box set, the author Bruce Cordell, the legend, mentions the brood Gibberling, which gives birth to larvae called gibber slugs, which writhe beneath the skin of the brood Gibberling. I mean, the horrible things actually burrow around under the skin in the flesh of the brood Gibberling. They are injected into the flesh of anyone the brood Gibberling bites, including other Gibberlings. Well, usually other Gibberlings. Thankfully, they tend to prefer to eat other creatures, and yes, the Gibberlings don't care if a victim is full of gibber slugs or not. They will eat those also. Some gibber slugs will actually survive this and simply infest the Gibberling that ate the hunk of meat they happened to be in, because Gibberlings are not big on chewing their food. The slugs then grow steadily and consume the body of their host from the inside, eventually bursting out through the skin. If you're thinking chest burster alien scene, you're right, but it doesn't go quietly and hide in its victim before then. No, the entire gestation is agony as the victim is chewed up while still alive. A brood Gibberling can actually control those Gibberlings it has created, leading to the development of clans of these monsters, so to speak, clustering around their brood sire. The control is limited. I mean, Gibberlings are not very intelligent. Give them a choice between a gold coin and a pile of copper coins, they'll always take the larger pile, because more is more, less is less. They don't understand that things can be more valuable in and of themselves. They also tend to destroy anything they don't understand, which is a lot of things. If you delve into the pages of Dragon Magazine number 265, the option to play a Gibberling is presented in an article written by Lloyd Brown III. In this, we find that certain rare genius Gibberlings can actually function as pretty basic playable characters. And for ease of play, they have their own gibbering language, and they can even learn to understand and speak common. Sure, you can include such rare freaks. Obviously, mutated brains could result in that sort of variant, but it would be extremely rare, and really, they are such a violent, stupid, and hungry species. I find it unlikely that they could survive long, even in the company of a bunch of very tolerant adventurers. These are not creatures that should ever be considered cute or endearing. Owlbears make better companions than Gibberlings. Both of them express their will by biting chunks out of you. The owlbear at least is going to stop biting you. The Gibberling will not. You'll have to put an axe in its brain meat for that. Once a Gibberling gets a taste for a species, that is it. It will only ever see those creatures as food afterwards. So associate with them at your own folly is what I say on that. Did I mention they're infested with parasites and hate light and fire? Yeah, great addition to an adventuring group. Sure, that'll work out fine. No, if you want to do that, just borrow these abominations from Hearthstone, which ripped off the name and some of the traits of the Gibberlings and turned them into this. What is the word I'm looking for? Chibi? Cutified? I don't know. This. I'm not judging anyone who loves these things. It's what they're clearly designed for. But I would rather spring them on players with some random magic spell or effect that suddenly transforms the snarling, horrific Gibberlings into a bunch of these fluffy little critters. That would be pretty hilarious, actually. There's room for cute in the game, sure. I'm still going to use it to bend your mind and make you question your character's very soul, though. Everything is a storytelling tool. Sorry, bit of a mini rant there. It's just that there's more artwork for cute Gibberlings now than the original version, so I had to see a lot of these things while making this video. It is what it is. Gibberlings are creatures of darkness. They are found underground and occasionally the surface world in the darkest forests and jungles, in Arctic areas where the sun doesn't rise for months. When caught in the daylight, Gibberlings will usually burrow just under the dirt and sleep there until the sun goes away. They'll then all tend to burst out of the ground in full howling, snarling and hooting activity, which is not something you want to come across suddenly without expecting them being there. However, they are pretty much sitting ducks when sleeping this way. In the case where they can't burrow into the surface, they will simply seek any shelter from the sun they can find quickly, or curl up into a fetal posture and try to rest even as they get really bad sunburn. Aside from the slight control of the brood Gibberlings, they serve no master and no purpose other than random death in the darkness. Tracking them is as easy as following their path of destruction and murder, but it invariably just leads underground into the deepest and most dangerous parts of the Underdark. Often Gibberlings seem to move from one area of far realm corruption to another, like they can sense the energy there and are drawn to it, even though it seems just as harmful to them as any other living beings. It tends not to be as deadly, as Gibberlings are tough creatures, hardy as dwarves and frenetic as quicklings, savage as gnolls and stupid as ogres. Gibberlings provide that thing which D&D sometimes really needs. A creature that is going to kill you unless you kill it first. You can't intimidate or charm them. It's not inherently evil. They're mostly chaotic neutral, but do evil things, such as eat live babies and such, because that is simply what they do. It's just veal to them. They don't really feel any malice or gain pleasure from the suffering or pain of other creatures. They're just very hungry and have a heavy metabolic load they need to keep constantly fed. For stats, there are currently no official 5th edition stats in publication. There are a lot of versions on D&D Beyond .com/homebrew/monsters. So go browse the offerings of your fellow fans and pick whatever one suits your needs and fits the concepts the best. Just remember, Gibberlings attack in swarms. In 5th edition, large numbers of opponents is very, very deadly, so keep their individual challenge rating low, and they are very primitive. They don't have traits like pack tactics or anything just like that, just tooth, claw, indomitable urges, and weight of numbers. It is sufficient. If you like this sort of video, I have a lot more for you on my channel. Thanks for joining me. My name is AJ Pickett, and as always, I'll be back with more for you very soon.